June 2nd, 1941. The fields of Belarus erupt in thunder. Columns of German panzers roll east, engines roaring, tracks grinding the summer soil. Above them, Luftwaffe bombers streak across a crimson dawn. Operation Barbarossa has begun. Hitler's grand invasion of the Soviet Union, a campaign the High Command boasts will be over before winter. Among those in the first wave is Lieutenant Karl Wessel, commander of a Panzer III in the 7th Panzer Division. His orders are clear: drive fast, strike hard, reach Moscow before the leaves fall. The early days are intoxicating. Columns of burning Soviet vehicles, prisoners marching west, villages in flames. Wessel writes in his diary, "Their tanks are primitive. They rattle and clank like farm tractors. We call them Traktoren." He's not alone. Across Army Group Center, German officers scoff at the Red Army's ragged armor. The Soviet BTs and T-34’s crumble under the 50mm guns of the Panzer III. Mechanics joke that Russian steel must be made of tin. But then, outside the town of Mogilev, something appears on the horizon that silences the laughter. At first glance, it looks ungainly, low-slung, angular, the color of wet earth. But as it crests the ridge, its gun flashes once, twice. 2 Panzer III's ignite like matchsticks. "Was ist das?" Wessel shouts through the radio static. The Soviet formation advances, shrugging off hits that should have torn them apart. Rounds bounce off their hulls like pebbles against stone. It's the first encounter with the T-34. German reports that evening read with disbelief. New Russian tank, sloped armor, medium type, fast, impossible to penetrate frontally with 50mm. What was mocked as crude suddenly becomes terrifyingly efficient. October 1941, just outside Vyazma, west of Moscow. The autumn rains have turned the once proud highways into rivers of mud. Wehrmacht trucks bog down to their axles. Supply lines choke, engines sputter, and yet the Soviets keep coming. Lieutenant Karl Wessel, now exhausted and gaunt, watches from the hatch of his Panzer III as another convoy of T-34's emerges from the tree line. The tanks move effortlessly through the quagmire, their wide tracks gliding where German panzers sink. He mutters to his gunner, "They don't stop. Not for mud, not for bullets." The gunner fires. The 50mm shell slams into the T-34's turret. Ricochet, sparks, nothing. The Soviet tank turns its 76.2mm gun, returns fire, and vaporizes a Panzer IV beside them. For the first time, fear spreads across the German armored corps. Reports pour into Berlin describing a phantom tank, one that defies every rule of design. Its sloped armor deflects rounds that would normally pierce through. Its diesel engine doesn't burst into flames like the Germans' gasoline engines. It can travel twice as far on half the fuel. By November, even Field Marshal Heinz Guderian, the father of Blitzkrieg, admits in frustration, "We underestimated the Russian equipment, especially the T-34 and KV tanks." Captured T-34's are immediately shipped to testing grounds in Kummersdorf. Engineers swarm around them, measuring armor angles, inspecting welds, tapping the steel with hammers as if it might reveal a secret. One German designer whispers, half in awe, half in envy, "It's ugly, but it's genius." Meanwhile, on the front lines, morale collapses. Winter closes in. The Luftwaffe loses air superiority. The once unstoppable Wehrmacht begins to falter, and in the chaos, the T-34 becomes a symbol of the Soviet will to survive. Fast, resilient, and brutally simple. By the Battle of Moscow in December, entire German formations retreat under relentless armoured counterattacks. Wessel writes his last entry of the year, "We thought we'd find peasants with rifles. Instead, we found machines built for hell." July 5th, 1943. The plains of Kursk vibrate under the weight of history. Dawn light glints off thousands of tank barrels stretching to the horizon. It is the largest armoured confrontation the world has ever seen. The Germans call it Operation Citadel, their final bid to regain the initiative on the Eastern Front. By now, the Wehrmacht has evolved. The new Panther and Tiger Eichhorn tanks, born directly from studies of captured T-34's, stand ready, Their 88mm guns and thick armor promise redemption, the ultimate revenge for the humiliation of 1941. But across the steppe, the Red Army waits. Behind minefields and trenches, more than 3,000 T-34's idle, engines rumbling, exhaust drifting like fog. Soviet mechanics slap dust off their olive-green hulls. Tank commanders check their radios, many still in their 20s. Young men raised on stories of 1941's disaster, now ready to return the favor. Lieutenant Karl Wessel, older now and weary, commands a Tiger Wat. He has seen enough to respect his enemy. Through his periscope, he spots the familiar silhouette of a T-34 cresting a ridge. "Achtung, T-34's ahead!" he shouts. The battlefield erupts in fire and steel. Shells scream across open fields. A Tiger destroys 2 T-34's with surgical precision. But for every one that burns, 5 more appear. They flank, swarm, vanish into the smoke, then reappear from unexpected angles. Their mobility and coordination overwhelm the German line. Within hours, the ground becomes a graveyard of armor. Tigers, Panthers, and Panzers alike, lying gutted beside their Soviet prey. Yet the numbers tell the truth. The Soviet tide cannot be stopped. By July 12th, the counterattack at Prokhorovka seals Germany's fate. Hundreds of T-34's charge downhill in one of history's most chaotic tank melees, ramming, colliding, firing at point-blank range. Even when set ablaze, Soviet crews keep their machines moving forward, crushing enemy positions with sheer willpower. From his damaged Tiger, Wessel watches as wave after wave of T-34's advance through the smoke. The sound is unearthly. Engines roaring, metal shrieking, men shouting in dozens of tongues. He murmurs to his radio operator, "We laughed at them once, but now they laugh last." By nightfall, the steppe burns red. Kursk marks the death of the Blitzkrieg dream. Germany will never again launch a major offensive in the east. The T-34, the tank that looked too simple, becomes the iron symbol of Soviet endurance. Its shape rolls westward through Belarus, through Poland, all the way to Berlin. When the war ends in 1945, even captured German officers confess what no propaganda could deny. The T-34 was not the best tank in the world, but it was the right tank, at the right time, in the hands of men who refused to die. The laughter of 1941 had long since vanished, buried beneath the tracks of a machine that changed the face of war.